Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of MineCrime. December 6th, 1991 is a date that will forever haunt Austin, Texas. On this date, a fire at a local yogurt shop, I can't believe it's yogurt, turned into a horror show. 4 young girls lost their lives in what can only be described as a barbaric, torturous way. Like many crimes we cover, this one is still unsolved, and likely never will be. Eliza Thomas and Jennifer Arson, both 17, were working the closing shift at their local yogurt shop. I can't believe it's yogurt. With them were 13-year-old Amy Ayers and 15-year-old Sarah Habison, Jennifer's younger sister. Amy and Jennifer had spent the earlier parts of the night at a local mall, but were at the yogurt shop to help Eliza and Jennifer close it down. The 4 girls had been looking forward to a sleepover after they finished, but sadly, they would never get the chance. Shortly before midnight, a police officer would see flames coming from the shop and called it into his dispatcher. After the flames were extinguished, firefighters were treated to a grisly sight. The first report said 2 bodies. Shortly after, it was clarified that there were 3, and before the police even made it to the scene, a 4th and final body was discovered. Though in a different room than the others. All 4 girls had been stripped naked and had their arms bound behind their backs. Sarah had been gagged and sexually assaulted. 2 of the girls were found stacked on top of each other, one next to the other 2, and one in a separate room. All 4 girls had been shot in the back of the head, execution style, except Amy, who, for an unknown reason, had been shot twice. Amy was also the only girl found in a separate part of the room. This will come back later. All 4 bodies were severely burned. It is unknown if the girls were dead at the time the fire was started, but it is believed that they were. At first, an arson investigation was launched, as the hope was that if they found the arsonist, they would find their murderer. Styrofoam cups were found all around the burned-up yogurt shop. It is believed that the styrofoam cups had been used as an accelerant. Either the cups were filled with an accelerant, such as gasoline, or the cups themselves were used as the accelerant, as styrofoam cups are highly flammable. Due to how intense the flames were, and how much water was used by firefighters to extinguish them, much of the physical evidence would have been washed away. This fact led investigators to believe that the murderer had some knowledge of fire starting. Food, cups, plates, cleaning supplies, and so on were found strewn around the bodies and all over the building. It is believed that this was done to contaminate the crime scene and compromise any physical evidence not washed away by the firemen. These guys knew what they were doing. At the time of the murders, a known serial killer, Kenneth McDuff, was in the area. He had a history of murders involving teenagers, but was ruled out of the crime. Here's the timeline for that night. Eliza started her shift at 7 p.m. Jennifer started at 8 p.m. The 2 girls were scheduled to close that night. At about 9 p.m., Jennifer took her break and went to the mall to pick up her sister and her sister's friend. Jennifer brought the girls to the yogurt shop, but they then went to a pizza place nearby to get a pizza, which they brought back to the yogurt shop. Between 9 p.m. and 10:42 p.m., multiple customers would come and go, including Eliza's mother. The final sale in the register was recorded at 10:42 p.m. The fire and subsequent discovery of the bodies were reported at just before midnight. So what exactly happened in that roughly 1-hour period between the final customers and the discovery? The murderer or murderers came in, potentially for a robbery, as several robberies had been reported in the area at that time, and several more would be reported after. The girls were stripped, bound, and shot execution style. All of the girls died instantly, except Amy. Amy was sexually assaulted, shot twice in the head. It is thought that she didn't die when the first when she was shot the first time, but the second shot didn't kill her either. The 4 girls' bodies were placed one on top of the other, and the building was set aflame. Amy, still alive, crawled off of the pile, knocking Sarah's body off. She made it to the back door before she stopped, likely due to her intense injuries. Eliza and Jennifer were found stacked on top of each other. Sarah was found lying next to them, and Amy was found by the door. All of the bodies were severely burned. Over 50 people have confessed to the murders, but all were disproven. 4 suspects were brought in for the murders. They were Robert Springsteen Jr., Michael Scott, Maurice Pierce, and Forrest Welburn. Charges were inevitably dropped against Maurice Pierce and Forrest Welburn. Robert Springsteen and Michael Scott would ultimately be sentenced for the crime. But in 2008, a retrial was requested, and in the following year, the 2 men were released, after serving almost 7 years after DNA evidence cleared them. Nothing new has come up since.
So you're telling me that they locked up 2 guys who they thought committed the crime for 7 years?
Roughly.
And so, you know how, like, when you go to jail and they're like, what are you in for? What are you in for? What do you think those guys said?
Nothing?
No, I promise I didn't do it. I didn't.
Me either.
Yeah, just like I didn't kill my wife. See? I told you guys I didn't do it.
Nah, but you know how, like, I know when people go in for, like, really bad murders, usually they have to lie about why they're there to, like, protect them. So so they probably would have had to lie about why they were in there to begin with.
For sure, but that's the thing, that, like, you know, like, certain, like, rape and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They don't want to say that they're in for that because they'll be the ones getting it in prison.
Okay. This is the saddest story we have covered so far, perhaps because of the random and brutal nature of it. Whoever the killer is, they went to extreme lengths to cover this up. I believe this started as a robbery, then escalated from there. But how someone could bring themselves to do that, what this person or persons did to these girls, is beyond me. Just goes to show the depths of depravity some people are willing to go. What do you think? Was this premeditated? Was it a robbery gone south? Or something else? Let us know down below, and as always, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss our next episode.